Hello, 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 everybody. What is up? What is going on? What's the haps, yo? I was gonna start off this episode because I have I have an earwig stuck in my head from my children's musical theater days, in which I played Tinkerbell in Peter Pan. So I just had one of the songs that I had to sing as a quasi solo or duet with Peter Pan. So I'm just going to sing it, and then we're going to start. Because if it's in my head, then it's got to be in your head too. So let's see if I can remember it. I know a place where dreams are born and time is never planned. It's not on any chart. You must find it in your heart. Never, never land. It might be right beyond the moon or right there where you stand. I can't remember the rest because this was over 30 years ago. Never, never land. You'll have a treasure if you stay there, more precious far than gold. For once you have found your way there, you can never, never grow old. So come with me where dreams are born and time is never planned. Just have an open mind, and then suddenly you'll find never, never land. Yeah, deal with that. Have that stuck in your head for the rest of the weekend, folks. So if you don't know who I am, welcome to the episode. Welcome to the broadcast. I am Hilary, professional tarot reader, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition. Because yes, my friends, do not argue with me. You have intuition. I believe everybody has intuition, and I access my intuition by using the magic and the power of the tarot cards. So I know that we have a couple of regulars here. So let me go ahead and say hi to Katie. Hello, Katie. And Dina's definitely here. She says, beautiful. Thank you very much. Yeah. I'm sure I can find a picture of me dressed as Tinkerbell from the dress rehearsal. I know that I'm pretty sure that my mom took it, and we put it in a beautiful frame that is also like green and gold, which matched up with my costume perfectly. Yeah. One of my first memories, or one of my big memories or fears from childhood, was playing Tinkerbell and then having the audience at my death scene not clap, because that's like that whole audience participation portion is, when Tinkerbell drinks the poison. Spoiler alert, if you've never seen Peter Pan before. Tinkerbell saves Peter Pan by drinking the poison that's planted for him by Captain Hook. And then Peter Pan addresses the audience and says, if you believe in fairies, clap your hands and maybe you can help save Tink. And yeah, I had a big fear that no one in the audience was going to clap. So I don't know. That might say a little bit something about my anxiety or fears or imposter syndrome from my childhood. But anyway, that is not what this episode is about, my friends. This episode is another continuation in the Goddess series of episodes by popular request. And tonight we are talking about the Goddess Athena. So I have a bunch of browser tabs in front of me, and I also have my own experiences with the Goddess Athena from my own practice. She's not a goddess that I normally work with, but I definitely have worked with her on rare occasions. And I also know someone that's like an Athena girl. And Athena's like her goddess. So I will share some of my personal experiences and also some mythology about the Goddess Athena, not just from regular Greek mythology, although we'll go there. And then I will also give you some tips on working with Athena, or if you're guided to work with Athena. So if that sounds good to everybody, go ahead, say yes. If you happen to be watching this on whatever platform that you're watching it on, please go ahead, click the bell so you know the next time that I go live. It's usually every Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll go ahead and put the crawler up there so you guys know. But yeah, ring the bell. Please subscribe because that all tells me that you're watching and that I'm on the right track with these episodes. Fridays, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is usually when I go live with these weekly shows. But occasionally I'll do an unboxing, sometimes during the week, sometimes not. And if you want a reading with me, you can book one at tarotbyhilary.com. That is the only place to book a reading with me. And I'm currently doing phone, Skype, and I just added Zoom readings to my appointment types. So go ahead, book there. And if you're having any issues or problems, go ahead and shoot me an email. I would love to hear it, because that way, if I don't know, I can't address it. I know it stands to reason, right? But sometimes people, go through the process of booking a reading, and then, at the slightest chance of trouble or, some kind of bump in the road, they just, leave the cart and go elsewhere. And I won't know that there's an issue if you don't tell me. So please tell me so that I can correct it, so that I can work with you. Okay. So, to let everyone know, if this is your first time watching, welcome. If it's your 50th time watching, welcome. But here is the order of events for most of these episodes. First, we start off with astrology from the Astro Biz Digest from Teresa Reed, aka the Tarot Lady. Then we jump into the topic at hand. Tonight it is about the Goddess Athena, the Goddess, a continuation of the Goddess series of episodes. And then we end every one of these lives or replays, doesn't matter, with a weekend forecast, because I usually record on Fridays. So I give you the astrology for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the top of the episode. And then I also give you a weekend forecast, which is either a tarot card or an oracle card or an affirmation card to bring you into the energies of the weekend. So, sounds good to everybody? Please go ahead and say hell yeah in the chat, and we can get started. And I'm going to make sure that I'm keeping myself well hydrated. And I am going to put up my widget, my countdown widget. And I'll give that about un minuto. And I also have ideas for the month of April episodes, because there is a book that I have unearthed in my cleaning, because I've been doing some spring cleaning. Might be a little bit early for it. However, it was beautiful out today. Absolutely gorgeous out today. Not too hot, not too cold. I just wore a little cardigan. I'm actually wearing a dress today, so I'm very feminine, very flowing and receptive today. But in doing my spring cleaning, I'm unearthing some books that I haven't seen for months, if not years. And I just unearthed a book called Cards of Destiny, or Cards of Your Destiny, by Robert Camp, I think is the name. And I think he's got 2 books, maybe more than that, which is Cards of Your Destiny and like Love Cards. And it is playing cards, but it's not quite playing cards. It's like, it's an interesting system. I was first introduced to it by Jacqueline Tierney during the Soulful Proprietor retreat that I did years and years ago with Teresa Reed. And I was fascinated because it is a type of cardomancy, but it's not one that I was familiar with. So I unearthed that a couple of days ago. And then today, when I was doing laundry, I was outside enjoying the fresh air right outside of the laundry room, and then I looked down at my feet and it was the 7 of clubs, and so I was just like, all right, come on. So I went and I looked up the meaning of the 7 of clubs. I'm still not quite sure, but it does have to do with energy and affirmations, and also business and turning the negative into the positive, I think, were some of the keywords that I saw for the 7 of clubs. So I was just like, oh, I really should do an episode on playing cardomancy, because it's not quite shuffling and then pulling playing cards. It's more of a system. I'm not explaining it right, but I think we should do an episode on that. What do you think? Yes, no, maybe so. Interested, not interested, let me know in the chats. And I am going to go back to the hell yeahs. So we've got hell yeahs and hell yeah. Well, heel yeah, but I know what you mean, Dina. It's fine. So let us go for the Astro Biz Digest. And then as I'm doing the Astro Biz Digest, you can let me know in the chat if Cards of Destiny sounds interesting to you. I think it does. So Dina's saying cool, and Katie's saying yes, please, very interested. Awesome, cool. So I will write that down. Not right now because we got to talk about Athena tonight, but that will be one of the episodes that we do in April. Yeah, I think we're going to be doing an April. Because next week we're off. We're off next week because it's a family member's birthday. So we will resume again on April 1st. So that might be a scheduling episode, though. We'll see. Anyway, let us go on to the Astro Biz Digest. If you're wondering what the Astro Biz Digest is, it is... Why is there no description here? Did I mess this up again? Let me look at my live sales widget here. Because I was playing with this before. Send the link to the comments when the item is on screen. Yes. Okay. No, I don't want to delete the list. Hold on a second here. Oh, I didn't mean to do that again. Anyway, don't get distracted, Hilary. We've got a lot to cover tonight. So the Astro Biz Digest, it is a yearly subscription that Teresa Reed, aka the Tarot Lady, does, and you get astrology for your week ahead and for the month, and you get monthly overviews and you get weekly overviews, and it is geared towards businesses and entrepreneurs, but I found it to be very, very helpful in my own personal life because she doesn't just tell you astrologically what's going on. She is also telling you in layman's terms what's going on and how it will affect you. So very, very helpful. So let us go into the Astro Biz Digest for this week for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But let me give you the overview of what's going on right now for overall transits, what's happening. So full moon in Virgo today, the 18th. Tidy up your space, finish editing, clean out the inbox, and update your schedule. If something isn't efficient, get rid of it. This is also the best day for shredding old files and getting your tax stuff organized for your accountant. After weeks of watery vibes, the fire comes on the 20th with the sun moving into Aries. If you have felt lethargic lately, this transit promises to bring energy. This means you can get things moving even if they've been stalled out previously. The sun in Aries is also terrific for leadership, risks, and blazing trails. Why do the same old when there are new paths to make? And the sun leaves Aries on April 19th. So we're about to be in Aries season, y'all, which is that's my birth season. So I'm very, very comfortable in Aries energy, if you couldn't tell already from the broadcast and also from, look below. This is a painting of me from Lucy Morningstar as the Page of Wands. So I'm very used to being in my fire energy, and I'm like trying to cultivate my feminine more and more because hell, I have been in my masculine for a very, very long time. And actually our therapist just said to us today, and she's like, "Oh, you're Aries? Did you know that Aries is a very masculine sign?" And I'm just like, "Oh no, I had no idea." Yeah, I knew. I know. You don't have to tell me. Okay. Let us get into Friday today, March 18th, 2022. The full moon is full at 3:18 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I already read you the info to learn more about the full moon in Virgo. Right? Virgo or Libra? Full moon in Virgo. See, I was right. For a second, I thought it was in Libra. No, it's not. It's not in Libra. It's in Virgo. Okay, cool. That's why. La Luna, the moon, enters relationship-oriented Libra at 7:26 a.m., making this your weekend for networking. So, full moon. Wait. I feel like that might be a mistake. Full moon is full. Yeah, I think that's a mistake. No, it's not a mistake. Sorry. Full moon is full in Virgo at 3:18 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. And then the moon is in relationship-oriented Libra at 7:26 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for being patient with me. Making this your weekend for networking. Rub elbows with influencers, reach out to peers, consider joint ventures, and don't forget to take good care of your people. The afternoon is splendid for introductions and strengthening partnerships thanks to the Venus-Chiron sextile at 12:24 p.m., followed by the Sun-Pluto sextile at 3:37 p.m. This would be it if there was ever an afternoon to hang with industry hotshots, teachers, healers, artists, or mystical types. It's also quite lovely for repairing any relationships that hit the skids recently. If you value a particular person but feel things are weird, reach out and fix that. So today, Friday, March 18th, is a power day for Libra and a weak day for Aries. Well, I'm not feeling very weak right now, so... So Dina says, fire girl. Aries make great divas. Thank you very much. Thank you. And the full moon was in late degrees of Virgo. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it. All right. Let us keep going. So we're into Saturday. Saturday is fantastic for networking, but Venus squares Uranus at 7:16 a.m., and that puts a few rude ones into the mix. Take nothing personally and keep on meeting and greeting. I'm going to sleep in. Thank you very much. Please and thank you. I'm not going to be up that early on a Saturday. The Moon-Saturn trine at 7:59 p.m. is perfect for meetings and negotiations. Hashing out a deal over dinner and drinks, smart business. So for Sunday morning is for lazing about. The moon is void at 8:40 a.m. Your perfect reason to stay in your PJs as you sip some hot cocoa. I will probably be drinking coffee. At 11:33 a.m., the sun will be in passionate Aries, adding much needed firepower into the next few weeks. So I already told you a little bit about sun in Aries already. The moon enters Scorpio at 11:45 a.m. on Sunday, you're cue to shut off your phone and hide away from the world. A private day will have you ready for Monday's extreme busyness. Okay, Monday's going to be busy, but today, Sunday, you do you. Saturday is a power day for Libra and a weekday for Aries. And Sunday is a power day for Scorpio and a weekday for Taurus. All right. So when I do the Astro Biz Digest at the start of every episode, I always want to check in with my people and make sure that if you were having like a weird Monday or Tuesday, I usually don't give away like all of the Astro Biz Digest. I would really prefer, if people are interested, to purchase that from Teresa. I want to shout out her work and promote her work, but also not take away from her work. You know what I mean? But I can give you a little bit of, if you were having a weird Tuesday, I can tell you a little bit about why that might have been. So I will wait. Go ahead and put that into the chat if you were having a weird day or two in the last week that I didn't already cover by talking about Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'll give that about a minute. And we will move on to the main topic of tonight's episode, which is Athena. And if everything was just, copacetic, we can move on. Oh, let me add. Oh, cool. I can add slides now. That's pretty awesome. Look at that. Huh. That's interesting. I can add slides. That's cool. Well, I don't have any slides for you guys tonight. But that's all right. Good to know. Okay. So Katie says, ready for Athena here. So let us go. So the name of the episode tonight is Athena, and it is part of the Goddess series of episodes made by popular request by all of you. So thank you very much for the Goddess series. We've already done a couple of episodes in the Goddess series already. We started with Hecate, followed by Bridget, and then last week we talked about Kuan Yin, and so Athena is the fourth episode in the Goddess series. So we are burning through these Goddess series of episodes, especially since March is pretty much International Women's Month or Women's History Month. So I figured, let's keep be in keeping with that and talk about do some of the episodes for the Goddess series back to back. So here is the schedule, finally, at the end, quote unquote, of the month, because next week we are off. So yeah, we did scheduling episodes on the 4th. We did Kuan Yin last week. We're doing Athena tonight. And then there will be no show next Friday, the 25th, because I am celebrating a birthday in my family. It's not my birthday yet. My birthday is in April. Yeah, okay. Cool. And I am seeing that if someone is asking for a reading, I would be happy to give you a reading. You can book at tarotbyhilary.com. And I have several appointment types available. I have 30 minutes and why is this not loading? I have 30 minutes and an hour available. So I will show that right here. $75 for 30 minutes and $130 for an hour. So you can book at my website, tarotbyhilary.com, or you can click on the link that I have put in the chat. Please and thank you. Love to work with you. Okay. So let us talk about Athena. Athena's actually a pretty popular goddess, and I think many of you might already know about her through, Greek mythology. So let's talk a little bit about the Greek mythology, and then we can move into, how modern pagans and witches work with Athena and how you can also work with Athena. So, I want to always give the caveat of this is a very broad topic, especially like talking about different goddesses. And so I want to have this episode as a jumping off point for you to take some of this information. And if you are so inclined or interested in working with Athena or learning more about Athena, to go ahead and do your own further research on this particular goddess. You're going to find things that work for you. You're going to find things that don't work for you. But I really do hope in covering some of these goddesses in the Goddess series of episodes that you take this as a jumping off point for your own research into that goddess. This is never going to be, the end all be all source of information on a particular goddess or, on a particular anything. I can only purport myself to be one, a professional tarot reader. I know a little bit about astrology, enough to be dangerous. And I am also a practicing witch. I've been a witch since I was 16 years old. And so have I worked with the goddess Athena? Yes, I have, actually. But we'll talk about that a little bit more after we lay the groundwork in mythology. Okay. And also, I just looked up while I was taking my sip of water and asking people about, astrology or anything else they wanted to cover in the Astro Biz Digest. I also looked up the Orphic hymn to Athena. And sometimes, if they have, if there is a particular god or goddess that is associated with Greece or Rome or sometimes Turkey, because Hecate does have some elements of Turkey in her history or in her worship. I go and I look up to see if there is an Orphic hymn to that particular god or goddess. And I have found working with Orphic hymns or even reciting the Orphic hymns can be a wonderful way to give honor to that particular god or goddess and also help to, gain their favor, gain their attention, to help you work with them or help them work with you. So I will read that in a little while, but got that there as well. So that is another portion of how you can work with a particular god or goddess. Like find poetry or find literature or find an Orphic hymn to that particular god or goddess and read it to them in a sacred space and see what happens, or see if you feel so moved to write your own even. Okay, so Athena is often given the epithet Pallas and is an ancient Greek goddess associated with wisdom, handicraft, and warfare, who was later syncretized with the Roman goddess Minerva. So Athena was regarded as the patron and protectress of various cities across Greece, particularly the city of Athens, from which she most likely received her name. The Parthenon on the Acropolis of Athens is dedicated to her. Her major symbols include owls, olive trees, snakes, and the Gorgon. The Gorgonion was a special apotropic amulet showing the Gorgon head, used most famously by the Olympian deities Athena and Zeus. Both are said to have worn the Gorgonion as a protective pendant and often are depicted wearing it. In art, she is generally depicted wearing a helmet and holding a spear. From her origin as an Aegean palace goddess, Athena was closely associated with the city. She was known as Polias and Poliocho. I'm going to butcher things, and I'm very sorry for my pronunciation. Right off the bat, do not come for me. I might be butchering some of these pronunciations, and I do apologize if I do. But both of these names are derived from polis, meaning city-state, and her temples were usually located atop the fortified Acropolis in the central part of the city. The Parthenon on the Athenian Acropolis is dedicated to her, along with numerous other temples and monuments. As the patron of craft and weaving, Athena was known as Ergani. She was also a warrior goddess and was believed to lead soldiers into battle as Athena Promachos, or Promachos. Her main festival in Athens was the Panathenaea, which was celebrated during the month of the Athenian calendar in midsummer, and was the most important festival on the Athenian calendar. She was believed to be born from the forehead of her father Zeus, and in some versions of the story, Athena has no mother and is born from Zeus's forehead by parthenogenesis. In others, such as Hesiod's Theogony, Zeus swallows his consort Metis, who is pregnant with Athena. And in this version, Athena is first born within Zeus and then escapes from his body through his forehead. In the founding myth of Athens, Athena bested Poseidon in a competition over patronage of the city by creating the first olive tree. She was known as Athena Parthenos, Athena the Virgin, but in one Attic myth, the god Hephaestus tried and failed to rape her, resulting in Gaia giving birth to, I'm going to mess this up, Erichthonius, an important Athenian founding hero. Athena was the patron goddess of heroic endeavor. She was believed to have aided the heroes Perseus, Heracles, Bellerophon, and Jason. Along with Aphrodite and Hera, Athena was one of the three goddesses whose feud resulted in the beginning of the Trojan War. There's many other myths about her. We could keep going, but I would love to hear in the chat what myths that you associate with Athena or that you've heard of Athena, because I know there's quite a few of us who, had to learn about Greek mythology in grade school and elementary school and middle school. So please put it in the chat. And while you put it in the chat, I'm going to keep going. She plays an active role in the Iliad, in which she assists the sometimes I really need to choose my topics more wisely because I'm just butchering pronunciations left and right. Achaeans, and in the Odyssey, she is the divine counselor to Odysseus. In the later writings of the Roman poet Ovid, Athena was said to have competed against the mortal Arachne in a weaving competition, afterward transforming Arachne into the first spider. So there is an association with spiders with the goddess Athena. Ovid also describes how she transformed Medusa into a Gorgon after witnessing her being raped by Poseidon in her temple. Since the Renaissance, Athena has become an international symbol of wisdom, the arts, and classical learning. Western artists and allegorists have often used Athena as a symbol of freedom and democracy. In her aspect, so we're going to talk about the cult of Athena and patronages of Athena. In her aspect of Athena Polius, Athena was venerated as the goddess of the city and the protectress of the citadel. In Athens, the Plintaria, or Feast of the Bath, was observed every year at the end of the month of Thargelion. The festival lasted for 5 days. During this period, the priestesses of Athena performed a cleansing ritual within the Erechtheion, a sanctuary devoted to Athena and Poseidon. Here, Athena's statue was undressed, her clothes washed, and her body purified. Athena was worshipped at festivals such as Chalcia, as Athena Ergain, the patroness of various crafts, especially weaving. She was also the patron of metal workers and was believed to aid in the forging of armor and weapons. During the late 5th century BC, the role of goddess of philosophy became a major aspect of Athena's cult. So again, we've had this concept happen in some of the past episodes, dealing in the Goddess series, where there are many different aspects of that particular goddess, and with that comes different titles. So it would be Athena blank, Athena blank. Same thing with Bridget, and I think same thing with Hecate as well, in their different aspects. So for one, Hecate was the torchbearer. There would be a particular name that went with Hecate, that shows her aspect as a torchbearer, for example. Same things happening here with Athena. So as Athena Promachos, or Promachos, she was believed to lead soldiers into battle. She represented the disciplined, strategic side of war, in contrast to her brother Ares, the patron of violence, bloodlust, and slaughter, the raw force of war. Athena was believed to only support those fighting for a just cause. So there is some elements of Lady Justice when we're talking about Athena. So Athena was believed to only support those fighting for a just cause and was thought to view war primarily as a means to resolve conflict. The Greeks regarded Athena with much higher esteem than Ares. Athena was especially worshipped in this role during the festivals of the Panathenaea and Pambotia, both of which prominently feature displays of athletic and military prowess. As the patroness of heroes and warriors, Athena was believed to favor those who used cunning and intelligence rather than brute strength. In her aspect as a warrior maiden, Athena was known as Parthenos, because, like her fellow goddesses Artemis and Hestia, she was believed to remain perpetually a virgin. Remember that the word virgin does not necessarily mean never having sex. That's the concept of the word virgin had different connotations. So virgin honestly means a sovereign, sovereign rather than, or self-sustained rather than whether or not she had sex. Just letting you know. So Katie says, I knew of the from Zeus's forehead. I always find her energy to be the strong single woman archetype. Yeah, exactly. Also, that the theme of protecting women who have been raped. Yes, exactly. And again, Katie says, I always see Athena as Lady Justice. Yes, as do I. I see that association as well. All right, let's keep going. So Athena's most famous temple, the Parthenon on the Athenian Acropolis, takes its name from this title. According to Carl Karenier, a scholar of Greek mythology, the name Parthenos is not merely an observation of Athena's virginity, but also a recognition of her role as enforcer of rules of sexual modesty and ritual mystery. Even beyond recognition, the Athenians allotted the goddess value based on the pureness of virginity, which they upheld as a rudiment of female behavior. I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. Their study and theory of Athena explains her virginal epithet as a result of her relationship to her father Zeus and a vital, cohesive piece of her character throughout the ages. The role is expressed in a number of stories about Athena. Marinus of Neapolis reports that when the Christians removed the statue of the goddess from the Parthenon, a beautiful woman appeared in a dream to Proclus, a devotee of Athena, and announced that the Athenian lady wished to dwell with him. Athena was not only the patron goddess of Athens, but also other cities, including Argos, Sparta, Gorgon, Lindos, and Larissa. The various cults of Athena were all branches of her pan-Hellenic cult, and often proctored various initiation rites of Grecian youth, such as the passage into citizenship by young men or the passage of young women into marriage. These cults were portals of a uniform socialization even beyond mainland Greece. She was frequently equated with Athea, a local goddess of the island of Aegina, originally from Crete, and also associated with Artemis and the nymph Britomartis. In Arcadia, she was assimilated with the ancient goddess Alea and worshipped as Athena Alea. So it can get a little bit murky because there's a lot of different goddesses conflated within her mythology or her history. So epithets and attributes, there's a lot. And I'm not going to continue to butcher this. So protectress, craftsmen and artisans. There's also a notation that Athenians sometimes simply called Athena the goddess, certainly an ancient title. So again, there's similarities to Brigid there. As Brigid was an honorific title prior to her becoming a goddess. Some have described Athena, along with the goddesses Hestia and Artemis, as being asexual. This mainly supported by the fact that in the Homeric hymns to Aphrodite, where Aphrodite is described as having no power over the three goddesses. Sometimes Athena was sometimes given the epithet Hippia, so of the horses or equestrian, referring to her invention of the bit, bridle, chariot, and wagon. Interesting. There's one where she's called Megara, so that's interesting. Shipbuilding, navigation, protector of the anchorage, Hygeia, after inspiring a physician to a successful course of treatment, bright-eyed or with gleaming eyes. Athena was early associated with the owl. In archaic images, she's frequently depicted with an owl perched on her hand. Through its association with Athena, the owl evolved into the national mascot of the Athenians and eventually became a symbol of wisdom. So if you've ever been wondering why the owl is a symbol of wisdom, it might have been because of the association with Athena, who was considered a goddess of wisdom. So very interesting. Mm-hmm. Yep, I feel it is more not a virgin, but a happy single woman. She doesn't need a man, or certainly not needing marriage, which would have been part of the need in society of that time because of financial support. Right, exactly, Katie. Yep. Let me go back to notes here. Interesting. In the Iliad, the Odyssey, the Homeric hymns, and in Hesiod's Theogony, Athena is also given the curious epithet Tritogenia, whose significance remains unclear. It could mean various things, including Triton-born, perhaps indicating that the homonymous sea deity was her parent, according to some early myths. One myth relates to her foster father relationship of this Triton towards the half-orphan Athena, whom he raised alongside his own daughter Pallas. Also, there is an association that she might have been born of the water herself, for the name Triton seems to be associated with water generally. There's a lot. There's a lot. So again, if I don't touch upon a certain myth or a certain mythology or a certain story of Athena, it doesn't mean that it's not out there. It's just that we only have a limited amount of time to cover the subject of Athena in this one workshop episode. So please take what you would like and use this as a jumping off point for your own research. Tons of stories. Patron of heroes is one of the major themes of Athena as well. Lots of punishment myths as well. Especially going back to that symbol of the Gorgon, in order to ward off evil. In a late myth invented to explain the origins of the Gorgon, Medusa is described as having been a young priestess who served in the temple of Athena in Athens. Poseidon lusted after Medusa and raped her in the temple of Athena, refusing to allow her vow of chastity to stand in the way. Upon discovering the desecration of her temple, Athena transformed Medusa into a hideous monster with serpents for hair, whose gaze would turn any mortal to stone. In his 12th Pythian ode, Pindar recounts the story of how Athena invented the aulos, a kind of flute, in imitation of the lamentations of Medusa's sisters, the Gorgons, after she was beheaded by the hero Perseus. According to Pindar, Athena gave the aulos to mortals as a gift. Later, the comic playwright Melanipides of Melos embellished the story in his comedy, claiming that Athena looked into the mirror while she was playing the aulos, saw how her blowing into it puffed up her cheeks and made her look silly, so she threw the aulos away and cursed it so that whoever picked it up would meet an awful death. The aulos is picked up by the satyr Marsyas, who was later killed by Apollo for his hubris. Later, this version of the story became accepted as canon, and the Athenian sculptor Myron created a group of bronze sculptures based on it, which was installed before the western front of the Parthenon at around 440 BC. Again, like the punishment myths, the fable of Arachne, where she bested Athena, and then Athena was pissed off, and then Athena turned. She became so conceited of her skill as a weaver that she began claiming that her skill was greater than that of Athena. Athena gave Arachne a chance to redeem herself by assuming the form of an old woman and warning Arachne not to offend the deities. Arachne scoffed and wished for a weaving contest so that she could prove her skill. Athena wove the scene of her victory over Poseidon in the contest for the patronage of Athens. Athena's tapestry also depicted the 12 Olympian gods and defeat of the mythological figures who challenged their authority. Arachne's tapestry featured 21 episodes of the deity's infidelity, including Zeus being unfaithful with Leda, with Europa, and with Danae. It represented the unjust and discrediting behavior of the gods towards mortals. Athena admitted that Arachne's work was flawless, but was outraged at Arachne's offensive choice of subject, which displayed the failings and transgressions of the deities. So Athena loses her temper, destroyed Arachne's tapestry and loom, striking it with her shuttle, and then struck Arachne across the face with her staff 4 times. and Arachne hanged herself in despair, but Athena took pity on her and brought her back from the dead in the form of a spider. That's the myth that I like best. And there is also the association with spiders with Athena, and that's part of the reason why. So each of their associations, or animal or insect associations, usually has a myth behind it. So, quick facts about Athena. A young woman wearing a helmet and holding a shield, often accompanied by a small owl. The owl signifying watchfulness and wisdom, the Aegis small shield showing the snaky head of Medusa, and then also the spiders as well. Athena's strengths: rational, intelligent, powerful defender in war, but also a potent peacemaker. Athena's weaknesses is that reason rules her. She is not usually emotional or compassionate, but she does have her favorites, such as the beleaguered heroes Odysseus and Perseus. The birthplace of Athena from the forehead of her father Zeus. It's possible this refers to the mountain of Juctus on the island of Crete, which appears to be a profile of Zeus lying on the ground, his forehead forming the highest part of the mountain. A temple on top of the mountain may have been the real birthplace. Athena's siblings are any child of Zeus, has numerous half-brothers and half-sisters. Athena is related to dozens, if not hundreds, of other children of Zeus, including Hercules, Dionysus, and many others. Athena's spouse, she had none. However, she was fond of the hero Odysseus and helped him whenever she could on his long journey home. Athena and her uncle, the sea god Poseidon, competed for the affections of the Greeks, each providing one gift to the nation. Poseidon provided either a wonderful horse or a saltwater spring rising from the slopes of the Acropolis, but Athena provided the olive tree, giving shade, oil, and olives. The Greeks preferred her gift and named the city after her and built the Parthenon on the Acropolis, where Athena is believed to have produced the first olive tree. So also olives have that association with Athena. And that also might be a good offering to Athena. One of her epithets or titles is gray-eyed. Her gift to the Greeks was the first useful olive tree, and the underside of the olive tree's leaf is gray, and when the wind lifts the leaves, it shows Athena's many eyes. Athena is also a shapeshifter. In the Odyssey, she transforms herself into a bird and also takes on the form of Mentor, a friend of Odysseus, to give him special advice without revealing herself as a goddess. The goddess closest to Athena in Roman mythology is called Minerva, who is also a personification of wisdom, but without the warlike aspect of the goddess Athena. Athena's name is sometimes spelled Athena, Athene, or even Etna. Just check in the chat. Athena, the Greek goddess of war and wisdom, one of the most powerful of all the gods and goddesses in Greek mythology. She was one of the many daughters of the king of gods Zeus, but she was the only one that Zeus actually birthed himself. It may seem contradictory for the goddess of art and wisdom to also be the goddess of war, but in this case, it makes sense. Another son of Zeus, Ares, was also god of war, but yet the term war meant two entirely different things to these very different gods. Ares was the god of chaotic battle, bloodlust, ferocity, courage, and violence. On the other hand, Athena was the goddess of strategy, organized fighting, advanced weaponry, and skilled manipulation of the battlefield. If Ares was offense, Athena was defense. If Ares represented pure force, Athena represented controlled strength. That if the two were not enemies by any means, but warriors would often choose one or the other to pray for their favor depending on their position in battle and the style they chose to fight with. Athena was very involved in human affairs and often took sides in great battles such as Greece versus Troy. She always took a cunning, strategic point of view, though, making her a powerful ally in any war. In modern language, Athena, the Greek goddess of war, is less fitting than Athena, the Greek goddess of wisdom, even in reference to her role in battles. It was her wisdom and strategic planning that often turned the tide of a battle to the victor. Lots of myths. Lots of myths with Athena. Lots and lots of myths. Many of the descriptions of Athena come from Homer. He described her as a beautiful woman with bright or gleaming eyes. Later translations changed this to mean her eyes were gray or blue or even green. Historians believe that she likely earned her association with the owl due to his description, as it showed she had the same type of face, an owl face or an owl-shaped face. Others believe that this association came from the artwork that shows her holding an owl in her hand. Yep, her dark there is the dark side to Athena. Her dark side also appears in a poem written by Callimachus called Hymn 5. It tells the story of a Greek goddess bathing in secret on Mount Helicon. Tiresias, who was the son of one of her close friends, spotted her in a spring by accident and attempted to flee. She was so upset at the thought of him seeing her naked that she turned him blind. Even when her friend begged her to reverse her decision, she refused. She instead gave the young man the gifts of seeing the future and communicating with birds. There are also stories of her taking men to Mount Olympus for judgment. Athena only did so when she felt that she couldn't deliver judgment herself. She would take the men directly to Zeus. Some claim she had no concerns over what happened next. I believe there was also a myth of Zeus trusting her to wield the Aegis and his Thunderbolts as well. So it's said that she was the favored and favorite child of Zeus, but also in other mythologies, there was a prophecy that she would become so powerful that she or someone that she would give birth to would overthrow Zeus. So, you know, sort through the different mythologies to see in which ways that you would want to work with Athena or work with one of her aspects, because there's a lot of aspects to her that you can work with. Oh, so here's some trivia about Athena. I already told you about the Feast of Bath. Bryn Mawr College has a large sculpture of her on display, as she is a patron of universities. Phi Delta Theta calls her their official goddess and uses an owl as their mascot in her honor. In addition to the owl, her other official mascot is the olive tree. Legend says that Athena invented the flute, but never attempted to play it. Though she never had any children, she adopted Erichthonius, who is both a serpent and a man. She kept him safely tucked in a chest. When Paris gave Aphrodite the golden apple, both Athena and Hera took the opposing side in the Trojan War. She appeared on a silver coin, which is one of the earliest depictions of her from around 380 BC. Many refer to her as the patron goddess of heroes and those who act heroically, weaving and spinning. Not only did she enter the world fully grown, but she also wore clothing and armor. And a famous sculpture shows her standing with one. A famous sculpture. Oh, I don't know what that means, so I'm not going to read it. That's what I was trying to say. The statue has been lost. Most famous representation of Athena in the ancient world was undoubtedly the monumental gold and ivory statue of the goddess by Phidias, which resided in the Parthenon of Athens and was over 12 meters high. The statue had been lost, but survives in the form of smaller Roman copies and shows Athena standing majestic, fully armed, holding Nike in her right hand, and with a shield in her left, depicting scenes from the battles of the Amazons and the giants. On her helmet were a sphinx and 2 griffins, and celebrated surviving depictions of Athena include friezes from the Parthenon and metopes from the temple of Zeus at Olympia. There's also, let me show you I'm going to download this because this is very cool. Oh, that did not save correctly. Hold on. Save image as. Thank you. Oh, well, it's not saving properly. I was going to share with you the reproduction of that statue, which is at the Nashville Parthenon in Nashville, Tennessee. And if you've ever seen the movie Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, that's one of the places that they go to. So, yeah, let's see. What else? I think we've covered a lot. Strategist, diplomat, mediator. She also taught Prometheus architecture, astrology, mathematics, medicine, and navigation. Invention of spinning, weaving, the plow, and the rake. Sacred plants, mulberry, oak, and olive trees. Archetype of the warrior, the diplomat and peacemaker, the teacher and the inventor. Oh, cool. This is cool. So I'm getting this information from goddessguide.com. So it's goddess-guide.com/Athena. I will share that in the chat. Don't have to go there now, but you can definitely take a look at this when you have time, or to spark again further research into Athena. I'll show that here. But here's some of the ways that you can work with Athena by working with some of her archetypes. So for Athena the Warrior, if you're drawn to work with her, in her warrior aspect to help you stand up for your rights and set firm personal boundaries. And remember, folks, we have been doing these episodes for, I think, 3 years now, or coming up on 3 years now. And I think I did 2, if not 3 episodes on boundaries. So go back to the replays. I know that they're there. You can do a search. And look at those episodes of boundaries. And if you want to further your boundary work, you might want to work with Athena. This goddess can be a great stereotype to work with if you want to take control of your life and wish to no longer play the role of the victim. You also may wish to call upon this goddess to champion the cause of others. Conversely, this goddess may appeal to you if you have a very strong sense of self and are proud of the victories you've achieved. The shadow side of this goddess may be asking you to reflect honestly on the cost of these victories. Have they been at the expense of others or your principles? Oh my. That hits. Any questions? I'm going to keep going. The Diplomat or Peacemaker. To have the Diplomat as one of your main archetypes, you do not have to be a diplomat by profession. However, you must have a lifelong commitment to resolving disputes and bringing people together. This can often occur within families where one member of the family is constantly trying to keep the peace and the family together. So yeah, the Diplomat / Peacemaker. If you are a peacemaker, you want to maybe call on Athena to help you with that. Check that you are not stepping into this archetype's shadow by asking yourself if it is you who will benefit most from the outcome you are steering the different sides towards. Ooh, that's a very 5 of Swords energy there. So again, I'm just reading from the different aspects or archetypes of Athena from goddessguide.com/Athena. The teacher and inventor. So this is the last one here. This archetype may suggest a love of passing on wisdom and learning to others. This goddess's wise counsel can also be called upon to help you see a way through any present difficulties or to help you master a new skill. The shadow aspect of the stereotype is also a reminder that whenever we find ourselves in a teaching or mentoring role, we must aim to be a positive role model, encouraging others to reach their full potential. Okay, Athena. Okay. Oh, good point. Katie says, I'm thinking that she should be called upon for what's going on in Ukraine and bringing some justice and peace to the region. I would agree with you. Call upon her in your work as peacemaker and diplomat, absolutely. And saying a prayer or a spell to her, asking for her help, and not just her help for you, but for help for those in leadership positions involved in the conflict. Like, may Athena's wisdom bring them the right things to say at the right time, bring them peace, bring them it's almost as if we need both. We need both Kuan Yin from last week for the compassion, and we need Athena for the strategy and the wisdom. Because again, that's kind of her downside, is that she often doesn't really have the compassion. She's got the justice, right? She's like the champion, or she gives the courage. But we might need to get the compassion from Kuan Yin. So calling on both of these goddesses to help the situation in the Ukraine could be very powerful. So I would encourage any of you that have altars or workings to find not necessarily a statuary, because statues can be expensive, but like print out a picture of Kuan Yin or an image of Kuan Yin that you like and an image of Athena that you like, and bring those two goddesses together to help Ukraine in both the compassion and also the diplomacy that we really need right now. Because it is very much a talking down, a de-escalation that needs to happen. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for sharing that, Katie. I just felt moved for the compassion, and then also for Athena. I didn't even realize that, hey, this might be exactly what we need right now, exactly what the world needs right now, both that compassion and that diplomacy. Crazy, crazy stuff. Okay, so I think I've given you a lot of information, a lot of stuff to think about Athena. So I'm going to recite the Orphic hymn to Athena, and then I'm also going to give you a couple of examples of me working with Athena or people that I know working with Athena, and then we'll wrap up and go into the weekend forecast. So the Orphic hymn to Athena is as follows, and hopefully I don't butcher some of these words here. Revered Pallas, you alone great Zeus bore by himself, noble and blessed goddess, brave in the din of war. Renowned and cave-haunting, you may and may not be spoken of. Your domain is on wind-swept hilltops, and shaded mountains and dells charm your heart. Arms please you, and you strike men's souls with frenzy, O maiden vigorous and hard-tempered. Slayer of Gorgo, blessed mother of the arts, you shun the bed of love, and O impetuous one, you bring madness to the wicked and prudence to the virtuous. Male and female, begetter of war, counselor, she-dragon of many shapes, frenzy-loving, illustrious, destroyer of the Phlegrinian giants, driver of horses, Tritogenia, you free us of suffering, O victorious goddess. Day and night, ever into the small hours, hear my prayer and give me a full measure of peace, of riches, and of health accompanied by happy seasons. O gray-eyed and inventive queen to whom many pray. And I'm going to put that also into the chat. Yep. I hope so, Katie. Probably why they're coming through for us to learn about. I hope so. I hope that I'm, helping be a conduit to help soothe or help, what is really needed now. So that link is in the chat, no matter where you're tuning in from. Helion.org. So that is the Orphic hymn to Athena. Let me see if there's a Homerian ode. Homeric ode to Athena. Ooh, okay. So you can do both the Orphic hymn or the Homeric hymn, either or. There's two. Homeric hymn 11 and am I reading 29? I think. Of Pallas Athena, guardian of the city, I begin to sing. Dread is she, and with Ares she loves the deeds of war, the sack of cities, and the shouting and the battle. It is she who saves the people as they go to war and come back. Hail, goddess, and give us good fortune and happiness. The 29th one is, I begin to sing of Pallas Athena, the glorious goddess, bright-eyed, inventive, unbending of heart, pure virgin, savior of cities, courageous, Tritogenia of Trito born. From his awful head wise Zeus himself bare her arrayed in warlike arms of flashing gold, and awe seized all the gods as they gazed. But Athena sprang quickly from the immortal head and stood before Zeus, who holds the Aegis, shaking a sharp spear. Great Olympus began to reel horribly at the might of the gray-eyed goddess, and earth round about cried fearfully, and the sea was moved and tossed with dark waves, while foam burst forth suddenly. The bright son of Hyperion stopped his swift-footed horses a long while, until the maiden Pallas Athena had stripped the heavenly armor from her immortal shoulders. And wise Zeus was glad. Hail to you, daughter of Zeus, who holds the Aegis. Oh, you're welcome, Dina. Dina says, thank you for this meaningful, hopeful work. I do really hope it helps. Yes. Save Kiev. Save Kiev. So some of the ways in which I've worked with Athena, or I'm not a Athena girl, but I know of someone, a couple of people who are, and they've had experiences with spiders dropping on their head. And this was even before they realized that like Athena wanted to work with them. And there's just so much there. And actually, this person is a burlesque dancer, and she actually did an act um, dressed as Athena with the garb and everything. Um, and I think it was to war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. I mean, like it was very interesting to see someone taking their spirituality and using it in such a interesting, creative way. Yeah. Giant spiders coming, lol. Yeah, I have had my experience with spiders too, but I am also like really, really arachnophobic. Like I don't know where it comes from. Again, phobias are not logical. Okay, like most phobias are not logic based. So I might be doing some tapping on that phobia. And actually, I've been working in my certification. I've been doing a lot of tapping lately, actually, and pairing off with different people who want to practice. Like yesterday, I did a practice session with someone. I feel like I've been doing it like 3 out of the 5 days. I've been doing tapping practice, so it's been a lot. Besides like my daily feminine embodiment tapping, which is only 6 minutes long, I've been doing like more tapping on top of that. So, there's a bit of wanting to tap on certain phobias. One of my phobias is spiders. So I wouldn't be surprised actually if I saw a spider after talking about Athena for this episode. But please don't. Please don't. I've been better. I've been better though. I've actually been like catching them and releasing them rather than like kill it with fire, like I've been trying. So I guess there's a little bit of hope there. But yeah, like this same person, it didn't happen to me, but it happened to a few members of the coven that I was in at that time, where they were stolen from. Someone like went into, they were a bunch of them were at a party, and someone went into the coat room and stole a bunch of money. And we ended up, the next time the coven met, the people that were there basically said we got stolen from, and so this same person said, well, let's ask for Athena's help in bringing justice to this person and possibly returning the items. And so we stood in circle, holding hands, and we invoked Athena, and she spoke, and it wasn't her when she spoke. Like I've never, like, she's very, this person who is quasi dedicated to Athena. She's very diplomatic and even keeled most of the time. And the voice that she used when she was basically speaking to Athena, or speaking, asking for Athena's behalf or intercession, in the situation, like her voice was not her voice. And I feel like her eyes turned gray as well. So I don't know if that was necessarily like her working with Athena or bringing her in or speaking as Athena. I don't know. But it was like within 2 weeks, I think the person that stole from the coven, one of their family members, was not Wiccan, but was savvy enough spiritually where where they found out and they basically said to this person, what are you doing stealing from witches? Are you stupid? I didn't raise you like that, blah 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 blah. And I think a lot of the stuff ended up being returned, or we ended up finding out exactly who it was. So that was very interesting. And that was one of the most memorable times I have worked with Athena or worked with people who worked with Athena. But yeah, she's, you know, you can invoke Lady Justice, but in invoking Lady Justice, you're kind of invoking Athena. So just know what aspect you want to work with when working with her. And also know when you're working with her, like, you better keep your own shit clean when you work with Athena. Because again, like, she doesn't have that compassion. Like, again, that little portion of what I read where it was just like, you know, if she couldn't mediate a problem and she would bring men to Mount Olympus and have Zeus deal with it, she didn't care at that point what the decision was from Zeus, because at that point she was done with it, you know. So remember that aspect of her when you are asking for her help and justice, because she's really, really impartial. Like, you better make sure that you're doing everything right too. Like, look at the justice card of the tarot. Like, you know me. A lot of the time when I'm doing these different topics, I usually have some way, shape, or form of bringing it back to tarot. Look at the justice card, or look at the justice card in the tarot deck that you're working with. Does it look like Lady Justice? Does Lady Justice look like Athena? There's a reason for that. Any other questions before we wrap up this episode and move into the weekend forecast? Again, you know, working with Athena, you may want to give olives. You may want to give, you may want to wear like owl jewelry. There's also snakes because of the Medusa connotation. That is one of her aspects too, or one of her totems. So, and in giving offerings to Athena, like, be guided by your own relationship with her, or forging a relationship with her. Ask her, you know, ask Athena, what can I do to strengthen my relationship with you? What can I do to give a good offering? And if you don't have anything, you're still giving, like, you can give up of a song, you can give up meditation, you can give you can even give water. It really doesn't, it really is about the intention with which you're doing something. It doesn't have to be fancy, you know, as long as you're giving something. So Katie says, excellent information. Thank you. You're very welcome. Do your own search. Do your own internet search about Athena. You're going to find a lot of information, and most of it is within the roots of mythology. All right. Are we ready for the weekend forecast? I'm going to give it I'll give it another minute. So I can hydrate myself. Hydration is very important. I'm not sure what other fruit was mentioned. I swear there was another one. It was olives and something else. Olives, oak, and something else. Let's see. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, olive oil, honey, wine or juice, bread, olives. But if you feel so moved, and other things even on not on this list, go for it. Oh, here's another good list here. Hold on, let me. Invoke her to let her support you and help you deal with a problem from a place of wisdom and openness to learn any potential lessons she wants you to know to be a better person, or spend some time outside. Athena is linked to the earth and to harvesting, so spending some time in nature can be a good way to connect to her. Honoring the Athena, practice the art of diplomacy in her name. You can bring a statue or a picture of her on your altar. You can plant some seeds and harvest them when ready. You can learn something new. You can cast a clarity and wisdom spell in her name. You can cast a reconciliation spell, and also having humbleness as well. Favorite offerings: honey to sweeten situations and bring peace, olive oil because of the sacredness of the olive tree to her, a statue of or an image of an owl, and a journaling page where you write down the lessons learned, showing her how humble and open to new lessons you are. So again, that like concept of humbleness, especially when you think of some of her mythology, look back on some of the myths that I touched upon lightly on this episode, and also read about her myths. And in reading about her myths, there are lessons and there are morals in those lessons. Like, for example, the whole weaving contest with Arachne, like, be humble. Like, there's a difference between, you know, um, being confident in yourself and being a braggart. So, having that humbleness that might be associated with the weaving contest with Arachne. Yeah. So, okay. So Katie is saying yes, please, to the weekend forecast, as is Dina. So let's go. Let me display this. Let me put up the crawler for the weekend forecast. I am feeling a tarot card. Are you feeling a tarot card? I'm feeling a tarot card. I've just been tarot all day long, every day, because this is my job. So I am going to pull from one of my newer decks that I got, which is the Reflective Tarot. I think I might have teased this in one of the episodes before. So the Reflective Tarot is based upon the Radiant Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, which is my workhorse deck. So they're using the Radiant Rider-Waite-Smith, but they have iridescent reflection. Yes. Love it. So I was working with this deck in order to do a tarot tutoring session, which was great. But then afterwards, I started shuffling it up. So hopefully we have some good integration already going on, or as people like to, yes, exactly, shiny, Katie says. Yes, that is the Reflective Tarot, even though the back of the Reflective Tarot isn't actually reflective. It's only and it's not even, shiny on the sides. It's just on the front face itself. So it's a little disappointing. I would have liked maybe a silver or gold edges, probably silver edges, but oh well. All right. So hopefully this is shuffled well or seasoned, as the case may be. But I will shuffle these up a little bit more. And we are going to ask the tarot, what do we most need to know for this weekend? Also, if you're following me on, okay, I guess that's a jumper. I guess we're done. If you're following me on social media, you'll see that there was 2 cards today for the card of the day. We had both the Fool card and we had the 10 of Discs. I'm using the Luna Soul Tarot from Liminal 11 for my deck of the month for the card of the day pulls. So yeah, you got a little bit more of a mini 2-card combo reading than you did a card of the day today. So make sure you check that out wherever you're most on social media, and you'll find my interpretation there. Again, Tarot by Hilary is my handle most everywhere. And I'm going to keep on shuffling, even though we do have a jumper card and we do have the weekend forecast card. So seasoning my reflective tarot a little bit more. Okay. And I am going to read from the guidebook too, since we have a little white book here. All right, so this weekend's forecast, we have the shiny 2 of Wands. I'm just going to keep on. Very distracting, but I love it. Bright and shiny. So here's the description. I don't need to describe this. So divinatory meanings from the little white book. I will definitely give you my interpretation. Between the alternative readings, there is no... What the... I don't know what to make. I don't know what to make of this interpretation. It's a little weird. All right, I'm just going to read it, and then I'm going to do my own interpretation, but I'm like so confused. Anyway, I'm reading this verbatim from the little white book. So this is an example of, hey, if you get other impressions that is absolutely different from the little white book, go with your interpretation, okay? So Katie is singing Blinded by the Light, exactly. And I won't say the rest of it because I don't know what they're... I always mess up the lyrics to Blinded by the Light. I only know Blinded by the Lights. And the rest of it, it's just like, I don't know. It sounds like wrapped up like a deuce in the middle of the night. And I don't think that's the lyrics. If you've ever gone onto the website, excuse me while I kiss this guy, I think it's like most misheard lyrics or most misunderstood lyrics. Yeah. Anyway, 2 of Wands from the guidebook or the little white book. Between the alternative readings, there is no marriage possible. On the one hand, riches, fortune, and magnificence. And on the other, physical suffering, disease, chagrin, sadness, mortification. The design gives one suggestion. Here is a lord overlooking his dominion and alternately contemplating a globe. It looks like the malady, the mortification, the sadness of Alexander amidst the grandeur of this world's wealth. First of all, I don't know why his name's Alexander. What? Huh? It's like one of the weirdest little white book interpretations I've ever heard. And I have read the interpretations from like the Tarot of the Witches, the James Bond deck little white book, which doesn't make any sense either. Anyway, what I see when I look at the 2 of Wands is you might be having a little bit of a limbo moment this weekend where it's just like not quite in, not quite out. The 2s usually signify of the tarot, having a choice to make, being in status, being in limbo. Yeah, I mean, that's like one of my first thoughts. Alexander the Great, Katie asks? Possibly. I don't know. Does it look like Alexander the Great? It doesn't even like, the clothing doesn't even match. So I don't know. Anyway, so the reason why I'm going with my own interpretation. So, you know, you do have, here's the thing with the Two of Wands, I look at the symbols and I see the two, one of the wands is in his hand and the other one is affixed to the wall. So it is about making that. Yep, Dina's asking the same thing. I don't know. This is the reason why I'm going with my own interpretation. I look at the symbols. One staff is unanchored, one staff is anchored, and then the other hand is holding the world or the globe. So it is about, do I stay or do I go? Am I limited by my ambition or am I limited by stability? What am I comfortable here or am I willing to look out into the horizon and, you know, take the stick that I have, which is uncertain, or stick with the stick that's affixed, which is certain. But you can't stay there. And with the globe in the hand, I usually see that as the client is holding the world in the palm of their hands. They have a lot of options, a lot of opportunity, but sometimes they can only see those two wands or those two staffs. They're not really even looking at the world. Like, look, is he really looking down at the world in his hands or is he looking off to the horizon? He's not even aware of what he has. So this weekend, with the Two of Wands being the weekend forecast, be aware of what you have. You are more than your choice. You are more than the opportunities that you think you have. Look beyond, look greater, think bigger about the things that you could do because there is more there. It is about seeing that bigger picture and having to marry the details and the bigger picture in order to get some kind of momentum, some kind of movement. But you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice to walk down from the rampart and go out into the world that is in the palm of your hand, or you have to make a choice to stay. But you can't stay where you are in limbo. It doesn't work. Make sense to everybody? And if it doesn't make sense to you right now, or if you're watching the replay at another time and this message is resonant for you, then that's all that matters. A lot of tarot reading, it's out of time and out of space. You're hearing the message exactly as you are meant to hear it, especially if it's resonating for you. Two of Wands from the Reflective Tarot. All right, everybody. I don't know why my nose is running, but it is. And so I don't want to be gross on camera and continue to sniffle. So we're going to wrap up the episode. If you would like a reading with me other than one card, you can certainly book with me at tarotbyhilary.com. We have phone readings available. We've got Skype readings available, and we have Zoom readings available, and also email readings as well. So find me at tarotbyhilary.com. And thank you all so much for watching. If you're watching live or if you're watching the replay, please make sure that you hit the bell to be alerted to any new episodes, and also subscribe wherever you're watching. I really, really appreciate it. So again, I want to remind everybody that we are off next week. There will not be an episode next week, but you have a bevy of episodes to peruse if you are missing your weekly Tarot by Hilary live fix. So I will let you know about the episodes that we have just recorded for this month On the 4th, there was a scheduling episodes for March episode. There's astrology in there, and there's a weekend forecast in there. Last Friday, we talked about Kuan Yin, part of the Goddess series, and tonight we talked about Athena, also part of the Goddess series. And right now, we need both. We need the compassion of Kuan Yin, and we need the wisdom and the diplomacy of Athena to make the world a better place. Oh, Dina says nose running is an energy thing. Okay, I guess I'm releasing some stuff. Interesting. All right, so again, next Friday, the 25th, no show. We will resume on April 1st, I believe. Friday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. Actually, I don't think we're going to have a scheduling episode. I think that we're going to talk about the Fool on the Fool's Day, on April Fool's Day. What do you think about that? I think it's a good idea. And hopefully I'll remember that. You're very welcome, Dina. Thank you, Dina and Katie, for attending live. If you've been lurking here and you didn't participate in the comments, that's totally okay. And if you have any remaining questions after this episode, please just drop them into the comments and I will respond via chat or via private message to you. You know, yes, you don't get the benefit of getting the response live on video and audio, but I will still respond to your comments. Okay, until Friday, April 1st, I remain Hilary, professional tarot reader, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, which is your own intuition. And yes, my friends, you have intuition. Thank you, Katie. Remind me about the Fool episode. We're going to do it because we already have 2 episodes that I want to do in April. We'll do the Fool episode and we'll do the Cards of Your Destiny episode. That's going to be really, really fun. I think it's going to be fun. So we're off next week. So catch me in the replays. There's tons to choose from, whatever floats your boat. If you want to go back to the first episode of the Goddess series, that's Hecate, then Brigid, then Kuan Yin, then Athena. So you've got tons in the Goddess episodes alone. All right. Have a good weekend to you too, Katie. And yeah, see you on April 1st. Bye.